The first Book of Boba Fett episode is out, and over this 7-episode series, we seem to be getting the story both of how Boba plans to reform the remains of Jabba's criminal empire based off Tatooine, as well as the story of how he went from the Sarlacc to where we first encountered him in Mandalorian Season 2. I think the most interesting thing to touch on here is going to be our first look at the motivations of Boba as a character in this period. We don't know why he wants to rule yet, whether he's motivated by money or some other factors, but the focus so far has been on Boba's stated intention to rule through respect rather than fear. The first episode is split half and half between the present, where Boba is taking over Jabba's criminal empire, and the past, where we're just following his escape. We're getting a lot of parallels with both how he escaped and ingratiated himself to the Tuskens, something we had hints of with his garb and weapons in Mandalorian Season 2, and how he plans to take over and rule the criminal empire. We also see some growing pains dealing with assailants and local authorities being less than willing to cooperate, so Boba and Fennec still clearly have their work cut out for them. I honestly was a little bit disappointed that we don't seem to have covered all of the trailer scenes yet. There were statements that all promotional material had come from the first episode, which doesn't seem to have been the case, unless I misunderstood the statements. Things change, so that's fine, but I do typically prefer to be as unspoiled going in as possible, and that's all a relatively minor complaint. I could have just spent less time looking online, so really it's my fault, but I'll learn to live with it. So far, we've spent the whole first episode on Tatooine, and I don't expect we'll see quite as much traveling in Book of Boba Fett as we do in The Mandalorian, since establishing himself both within the Tuskens and Jabba's empire will require being there quite a bit. We do know present-day Boba does have his ship, whether that ends up staying called Slave One or not, and my guess is that we won't actually see him use the ship either in the past or present until the story in the past gets to him reclaiming it, so that'll probably be a big reveal, and then we'll start seeing him use it. But now that I've said that, you can be pretty confident that the first scene of episode 2 is just going to be him sitting on Slave One. Since the show is our first real deeper exploration of canon Boba's motivations and where they intend to take the character as at least an anti-hero, rather than just primarily being a background villain, I think it's possible that the whole controversy over whether his ship is still named Slave One or not reflects an in-universe change as well, where Boba himself changes the name. Because we are on Tatooine, we of course get some nice callbacks. There's at least a member of Max Rebo's species, an Ortolan, playing their instrument with what we can only hope is their feet, though I doubt it's Max himself. They were playing a remix of the same song though, which did sound cool, so we can only hope for a subplot in future episodes where Max Rebo is trying to claim royalties. For those who may not be familiar with the Legends expanded universe, in that continuity there was a character named Talon Karrde who took over Jabba's smuggling operations. He then became a key figure in a lot of future stories, cooperating with the New Republic, and it seems like Boba is intended to fill at least that part of the Underworld King in new canon, though with less focus on information brokerage, and although we've already seen him cooperate with the Mandalorian, who does now have a connection through Luke, we'll see how he ends up relating to other characters within this part of new canon. We never really did see how Karrde took over Jabba's empire, so it is cool to see that story actually play out, with Fennec Shand potentially filling the role of Mary Jade, or his later bodyguard Shada Dukal as a second-in-command or potential successor. Either way, I'm looking forward to seeing where the show goes next. Let me know what you think in the comments, particularly how you feel about the past and present splits. Do you enjoy how they're being done so far? Do you think they're maybe hurting the pacing a bit? I'll be getting into a deeper discussion on the first episode and what to expect as the series goes on with Eckhart's Ladder on our podcast Tapcaf Transmissions. That live discussion will be happening tomorrow night, Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern, so check that out if you want to see more breakdowns. Either way, thanks for watching and hope to see you next time.